Speedway, the best go three abreast.
It is showtime at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You've got a for a rep. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of Outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week, and we are so glad that you have joined us. Steve Post joined by, who are you? Do you have a name tag? Erin Evernham. How are you, not my old friend, my friend from the long lost. Yes, long lost friend.
Yes, I'm good. I'm very good. I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back as well. It is good to see you. Always good to hang out. We do, again, appreciate Justin Fiedler. Man,
Yeah.
I've said this all along. When Kendra was my co-host, we had you and Ashley as the bench, for lack of a better term. And then Kendra moved on to Knoxville and now on to Flow Racing. You and Ashley are the lead team, and we have got an incredible The Bench with Justin Fiedler.
I know. I thought I was going to maybe lost my seat.
No. You'll never lose your seat here. But Justin just does such a good job, and I love his Dirt Tracker site. So we do appreciate him. How have you been? I've seen some ribbons and horse shows and beaches, and my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer, but all good stuff. We went on a quick Disney cruise, and then we went to the beach for a few days, and then I spent the last 4 or 5 days at a horse show with Kate, and I don't know where she gets this desire competition.
I don't know where she would get a competitive spirit from with you and Ray. I can't imagine that.
She won. She had a really good weekend, and Ray was walking with her to go get her awards, and he said something about him. So I'm proud of you. And I don't know her exact words, but she looked at him and said, Dad, I wouldn't be this good at this sport if it wasn't for the hard work. And he was like, oh,
wow.
I've done. My job is done.
That's
awesome. She takes it so serious, which is neat. I mean, she'll be 8 in a few weeks, but it's
that's cool.
Yeah, it's different. It's a whole new world, but there's a lot of parallels to the racing world.
Yeah, good stuff. It really is. Well, good to have you back. That's for sure. And what a week to come back.
I know. I'm excited about this week.
Well, we're going to talk more about that. Jerry Gappens, actually, the GM up at Eldora Speedway, is going to join us, and Carson Macedo, fresh off from that win. What a month it's been for Carson Macedo. Holy cow. So those are our two guests here on the show. But this week, I can't even fathom what it's going to be like.
Me either.
It's just bonkers. It really is.
It's kind of making me wish I was in Rossburg, Ohio. Well, Attica for tonight, but yes.
Yeah. I'm in you talked about your time with Kate and then with Ray J as well and everything like that. I am probably in my final summer as a dad with 2 girls living at home.
Yeah.
One's moving internationally, so I know she won't be around, and the other one's moving out in September or August. And so I'm just like elbows up with being dad with my girls.
Yeah.
So we're going to Pennsylvania, not central Pennsylvania. We're going up to visit family, and I'm like, I've wrestled with this week particularly with Eldora. But I know 100% I've made the right call because the time with my girls, there'll be, I don't know if there'll be other Eldora Millions, but there'll be other Kings Royals and things where I'm sitting around with no kids saying, man, I'm bored. Let me jump in the car and drive to Rossburg. And so I'm in the same boat, though. This week, it's like I can't imagine.
I mean, talk about an historic event. There's just
really is.
Never been anything
amazing.
like it.
So and I mentioned this Jerry Gappens, who, I go back to Jerry, my gosh, Charlotte Motor Speedway media tours in the mid-'90s with Jerry. Central Cabarrus High School football games when his son played there. So I'm so excited to get a chance to catch up with Jerry, general manager. And my first question is going to be, are the pizza burgers ready? That's my first question. Yes, exactly.
In the toilet waters.
The toilet waters. Pizza burger, toilet water, and cheese balls. And you put the cheese balls on top of the pizza burgers, and you got some. That's a Kendra Jacobs special right there. That was Kendra Jacobs told me that, and that's money right there. That is money. All right, let's get into our after racing product hot topics. We've already veered off into the food category.
Of course.
NOS, World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, Wilmot Speedway. We're going to talk to Carson about this. 4th win of the season, 32nd of his career. It's, June 10th was that crash at Knoxville. And I don't care what anyone says. When you go through something like that, it has got to have an impact on you physically and mentally. I'll be interested to see where Carson's at with that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting after the race, his comments.
He
Being in North Carolina, we don't really know the ins and outs, and then you hear how much it really did impact him.
Yeah, and so looking forward to talking to him, and good to see him back. We have such a neat situation with the World of Outlaws where not only there's been a lot of times where one team has been excellent. Yeah. It's been the 15 or the 49.
Or the 11
or
back
the 11 back in the day. We've had some seasons where there's been 2 teams that have been excellent. We're in a situation this year where there's 3 teams that have just been excellent. All across the board, Brad Sweet, David Gravel, and Carson, and it's good to have Carson back on his high horse. Yep. So we'll talk with him. That's going to be good. The All-Stars, they were Friday night at Ransomville. Zeb Wise picked up the win. Saturday night, the Lou Blaney Memorial, it was Tyler Courtney picking up the victory. So seems like this one's kind of come down to the Zeb-Tyler show, and they both got wins this past weekend. Other winners, it's like I go online, and it's like, okay, River Cities, let me see if Mark Dobmeyer won again. Howard Lernerville, let's see if A.J. Flick won again. Yep. Howard Knoxville, let's see if Brownie won again. All 3 did.
Yep.
They all 3 won again. More of the same. And it's just, they're just so good. There are so many. We had A.J. Flick on our television program a couple of weeks ago. And boy, is he so dialed in Western Pennsylvania, particularly Lernerville. But it's just really fun to watch excellence. With Dobmeyer, it's obviously his story. Yeah. And getting back after the burns this time, which is after the back injury the last time. Just, you see his name winning the race, and I smile. Yep. I really do. And then Brownie has just been on this. I am fascinated to see Brownie for the Nationals. Yeah. Because he's had some good chances at this thing. He has. He's
been a contender for sure.
But boy, I think there's a little bit something more there. Reunited with Chad Morgan. I don't think that hurts him at all. Sometimes you go away from each other to learn about each other. Brownie has talked with us about that. He talked about it with us. I don't know. I just think Brownie's going to be fascinating, and the way he's getting around Knoxville now. We saw when the Outlaws were there a couple of weeks ago. I was on the podium both nights. So, man, it's going to be good. And we have that, okay? And then Sunday night, Huset's. And just the fact that we say Sunday night Huset's still makes me giddy because we went through a phase where we didn't think we were going to say Sunday nights at Huset's.
Yeah, and we've been tuning in on Sunday nights. We've been watching.
I'm telling you, it is so good. Yeah. And
I love that. I do love that racetrack.
I love that racetrack. The announce crew up there
they're very good.
They are so good. I mean, well, I know even after the Highbanks, Johnny Gibson said, I like a lot of the announcers I work with, but the guys at Huset's are just, they're just phenomenal. They have such a knowledge and passion and presentation. You take a good race, take a good caller, you take everything, you put it together, and it's Sunday nights at Huset's. Yep. A guy by the name of Christopher Traum, and I had his name wrong on TV, so I apologize. Those of you watching later in the week, I apologize. Christopher Traum, career first 410 win, passed Brooke Tatnall on lap 14, survived some late race restarts. His quote afterwards, "Since I was a kid, I've been coming here, and this is pretty cool." I love that. Yeah. I really do. So we have the Brownies and Dobmeyers and AJ Flicks, the guys that win all the time, and then we get the new guys.
The new winner.
I love that as well. So that's what I love about sprint car racing. We're at a really, really good spot. It's really, really fun and a lot going on, that's for sure. So we're going to be joined by Carson Macedo, but need to remind you that HRP knows sprint car racing, therefore they know what works best for your team. No other accessories can match quality, performance, and design, and top trailer users use HRP trailer accessories to outfit their stock and custom-built units, Erin.
Yep, they're always adding, like new cordless tool charging stations. They're sleek in design, hold 2 cordless drills, impacts, or flashlights, and battery chargers. It keeps clutter from your workbench. The roster includes something for every racer, team, trailer, and shop, so don't settle for anything less than Sprint Car Racing's #1 accessories manufacturer.
www.hrpracing.com. That's hrpracing.com. The Sage Fruit Hotline is next with Carson Macedo. Stay with us. The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st, and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum's newest exhibit will be our track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway inside the museum's main floor from April 3rd through October 2nd this year. You'll learn about the beginning of Williams Grove Speedway and the evolution of sprint car racing on the East Coast through 8 of the iconic big cars and sprint cars that made up the history of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania's Williams Grove Speedway. Plus, you'll see videos of historic National Open sprint car races and other racing events that put Williams Grove on the map. That's the track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway, featured April 3rd through October 2nd at the only museum in the world solely dedicated to sprint car racing, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville, Iowa.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Now, we did a little chit-chat with this guy during the break, and I'm so jealous right now. I am so jealous. I want to be adopted by the Linders. I'm not a bad
place to be.
No, I'm not a talented young sprint car racer from California, but I want to be adopted from the Linders because joining us from the Linders, he drives that number 41 Jason Johnson racing car. Carson Macedo joins us. Hello, Carson. How are you?
Hey, guys. Doing really well.
I guess you are. When you go to northwestern Ohio, that has got to be just, you got to have it circled on your calendar because you know it's not a hotel, it's not a motor coach, it's the Linders house. That has got to be one that you have circled.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Yeah, my brother, he basically lives with them out here in the Midwest, and he, it's just, we really enjoy this time of year. I was just actually talking to Tommy Tarleton on the phone, and I was telling him, that this is one of my favorite times of the year. From about this point to Knoxville is just the highlight, and it kind of gets kicked off here. I was saying there on the break, my family's here, my mom and dad, and Sean and Felicity Dyson, who I drive for in Australia. They, have been big supporters of my career. They're here hanging out, and they have their niece and my girlfriend Holly, and obviously my brother, and the 21 team, Tarleton team, is going to run a lot of these races coming up, through Knoxville and then back, to the West Coast. So Drew Warner is now my cousin that's married, married my cousin. Just, it's really cool. Everybody hanging out and having a good time. And like I said, the Linders, they've just become like the orphanage over here, and it's pretty cool. I think Steph and Mike enjoy it just as much as we do, which makes it pretty special.
That's awesome, and what a great place to celebrate your win this past weekend. Tell us about the weekend. Obviously, you've had a rough month since Knoxville. You had some good finishes, but it was nice to get back in victory lane, wasn't it?
It was. That deal in Knoxville. Like I said in my interview there the other night when I won, I feel like sprint car racing in general, you just take for granted how tough it is night in, night out to perform at the top, peak level. And I just was going through a lot there after the wreck. Went to Beaver Dam and just felt like maybe I still had a concussion. My ribs were bothering me a lot, and it was so hard to be focused on doing a really good job in the race car. And my mind was on so many other things, I felt like. And then, Houston's I felt like I was starting to recover through Houston. It was getting better, but it was still, quite a bit of a struggle. And then Cedar Lake, I felt, better again, but still not 100%. And then, coming into Wilmot, I felt like I was in a much better place. I had worked out throughout the week, finally, felt good enough to do that. I was in a better place mentally. I wasn't taking any pain medication. I felt, prepared for the situation. And, I think Philip, Clyde, and Nate just delivered with a really good race car again at Wilmot like they did the year prior. We were able to get a win then too, and so I knew I had a good shot. I knew my car would be good, and it just felt good to be standing back in victory lane. You start thinking like, man, am I doing the wrong things? Am I not executing right? But I think a lot of it was just, when your body isn't in the right place, your mind struggles to keep up, and then you're just not going to beat Brad Sweet and David Gravel and Donnie Schatz and Sheldon and Logan and all these really good drivers when when they are at 100% and they are doing their best job and they're not making those mistakes. So yeah, it felt good to be back and just get a win for my team and our sponsors and everybody that's a part of JJR.
Yeah, I look at this thing, and Erin and I talked about it in the opening of the show. There was 9 races between Knoxville and you're picking up the win up at Wilmot, and 8 of them were top 10s, which is good.
It's actually amazing for most.
The problem in 2023 is that darn David Gravel and Brad Sweet, top 10s are not going to get it for you at this point.
No, they're not. Top 5s are gonna win the championship. It's crazy, right now. It sucks because we're distant. I mean, we're 50 points back in third, which is, not ideal. I mean, we'd love to be leading the championship, obviously, but we've actually had a pretty decent season. We've probably won less than we did last year at this time, but we've really been consistent and had some great runs. And Knoxville set me back. I was leading the points at that point, and then just like you said, I'm running the top 10, but I'm losing points every night because they're winning, running second or running the top 5. And but ultimately, like you said, it's just between us 3. I mean, I think any given night, it's like who's going to finish in front of the other. And there's been a few nights where we're 1, 2, 3, or we're 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, or and it's like, man, you feel like you won the race and you're all excited. You get out and it's like, oh, Brad ran second. You gain 2 points.
Yeah.
It's not so. It's just tough, and you got to execute and you got to do a really good job on any given night. And I feel like them two are. I knew going into the season that they were probably going to be the 2 guys to beat, but you see guys go on runs where they're really killing it. We were kind of on that run, prior to Knoxville, and then, I had my wreck, and then I feel like now David's sort of been on that run, and but Brad's always right there. Like, as good as David's been, he still hasn't taken the points lead. So it's crazy, but it sure makes it fun, as a race car driver, in my opinion, to be that competitive every night, to try to beat them guys is special. I think it's a great time to be a sprint car driver.
Carson, I want to go back to the Knoxville wreck. And as a former driver, I know we don't love to talk about the wrecks and the things that happen, but you scared the heck out of the whole industry that night. I want to talk about the support you felt from the community, because I just went through Twitter and I saw people from all forms of motorsports reaching out, offering prayers and thinking of you. What was that like for you as you started to recover?
Oh, man, the racing community is awesome. I feel like anytime anybody has like a horrific crash or accident, everybody's on social media reaching out. And, you think sometimes, oh, well, what does it really mean? Are they even going to see it? Or are they? Man, I sat there and, when you're wrapped up and rib hurts and you can't really do nothing else, you sit there and get on Twitter and, just to see how many people were, praying for me and reaching out. We really hope that you're doing well. And the amount of text messages and direct messages and things that I had was crazy. It took me a while to respond to everyone, try to respond to everyone. It was special doing it because it just goes to show you how many people really do want to see you, do well and get back out there on the racetrack and of course not get hurt or badly injured to where you can't. So it was special, and I feel like it helped motivate me to get back to the track and do a good job. And you feel like you got a lot more people that are supporting you and on your side than maybe you thought, and that meant a lot to me. So I'd say past that, the guys that helped me try and get out of the race car, that was a big eye opener as well. To watch the video of Brad Sweet, Spencer Baston, and Gio. I mean, at one point Gio's suit catches on fire. Brad was leaned in there in the race car trying to get my belts off, and Spencer as well. He was coming in from the other side, and I mean, they're running right into harm's way, into the fire as well, trying to help me out. And I just think that is a really, really cool thing. And I hope someday, I hope it never happens. Nobody ever catches on fire. But if they do, I hope I'm the one that can help somebody else out. It was pretty special, and I think it says a lot about the World of Outlaws Tour in general. Ultimately, like, we're all out there competing, and you forget this sometimes because it's such a competitive nature. We're all out there doing it for a living. Everybody trying to win the championship. Everybody's trying to, put good runs on the table for their sponsors and their fans. But ultimately, we're a family out there, and the last thing you want is see somebody get hurt or even fatally injured at fatal accident or something like that. You want to be there to help them, no matter how competitive you are, no matter how much you want to beat them. And I think that showed the other night. I mean, them guys jump out of their car and they're right there along the fire safety crew, and I just want to say a huge thank you to them and the Knoxville fire safety crew. I mean, if you watch the video, they were on that car instantly, and the World of Outlaws fire safety crew. I mean, I think I was in good hands, and if anywhere there you want to wreck, I'd say Knoxville's probably, top of the list, and I think that showed the other night.
Yeah, boy, well said on so many accounts across the board. Really, truly is. It is special, and it is a special time of the season that we are facing. And I am sure you're glad to get that win out of the way, because this is the week you want to be on your A game. It starts off at Attica tonight with the Brad Doty Classic, and then rolls into the Million at Eldora, and then the Kings Royal this weekend. Let's talk about tonight's race, the Doty. That kind of gets overshadowed a lot, but Brad Doty is a guy that never should be overshadowed. Just your thoughts as you go into Attica, looking for your first Doty win, kicking off the week in solid fashion.
Man, I'm excited. I love these weeks of the year. I mean, we're racing Brad Doty's race tonight. He's put up a little bit extra money. I think he's paying $15,000 to win. I love Attica. I love, being around the lenders and my family, and we, kind of sleeping in today, headed to the track. My team's ready. They've been working over at Paul Kistler's, who builds our engines, and like you said, it's just a special week. It's a special time, in my opinion, to be a sprint car driver. We got so many big pain races on our schedule, and this week with Tony Stewart and them putting up $1 million to win at Eldora, just absolutely mind-boggling to me. So I'm excited, and I know that my team is too.
Carson, what's the preparation like for this week? When I was racing a million years ago, the preparation for Knoxville was the big thing because that was our biggest race. Now you have Houston's, but now you have the Eldora Million and you have the Kings Royal in 1 week. You have pretty much 5 nights, I think, of racing straight, and every night is very significant. What's the preparation been like?
So here's the thing. This is probably going to be an unpopular answer, but I don't think it's any different than any other time of the year. I think we probably put our best foot forward as far as, we're going to Eldora, so we're probably going to put in the biggest engine that we think runs the best, and we're probably going to, do a little extra bolt check here and there. But, I've said this for a long time, and I truly do believe this. I don't think that there's probably one race maybe that's harder to win than any other race out there, and I think that's the Knoxville Nationals. I think to win the Knoxville Nationals, you have to be good all week long. There's nobody lucks into the Knoxville Nationals. You gotta be good on your prelim night, then you gotta be good on the final night. It's a 50-lap feature. It's a break between the two. I just think you really have to earn that win. Other than the Knoxville Nationals, every other race out there on the schedule is exactly the same as hard to win. Tonight at the Brad Doty Classic for $15,000 is going to be just as hard to win as the Million on Thursday. I guarantee it. The same cars are going to be there that are competitive to win the race. There's going to be the same amount of difficulty to win tonight as there does Thursday, and I think it's the same thing with the National Open. I don't think it's any different as the 250 at Houston. There was a little bit there, the 250 at Houston, because there was a week-long format where you had to kind of combine some points together, and so that's probably a little bit different. That probably falls along the lines of the Knoxville Nationals. But personally, I think, if anything, maybe the Eldora Million might be easier to win than other races because of the fact that they're going to invert 8 in the format, 7, 6, or 8. So you can maybe luck out and qualify not so good, get on the front row of your heat, lock it in. I just think the regular World of Outlaw format, the preparation for a 10,000 win night should be no different than the Million because they're no different to win, in my opinion. I think they're exactly the same amount of difficulty.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that well said again. Yeah, that's how we're ending all your answers with very well said. So let's talk though about the Million, because the one thing the Million doesn't have is any World of Outlaw implications. You've got it is a check. That's all it is. You don't need to worry about Brad. You don't need to worry about David or Donnie or Sheldon or Logan or anybody else. Does that impact the million?
Yeah, so again, in my opinion, that makes the million. And I'm not saying like the million is going to be very difficult.
Yeah,
You're gonna have
sure.
every bit of the best drivers in the country there to win the race. But at a World of Outlaw event, so this is like I've talked about this a lot with several different people, and you never understand it until you're running for World of Outlaw points. But in order to beat Brad Sweet and David Gravel and Donnie Schatz and Logan Schuchart and all these guys in the World of Outlaw Championship, you have to be there and you have to finish every race. Not only do you have to try and win a lot of races, you have to try and finish every race.
Yeah.
And so, like Kyle Larson rocks up, or Reese Williams rocks up, or Anthony Macri, or Brent Marks, these guys that are ultra competitive and probably arguably as talented of race car drivers, on any given night, they're in full send mode at a World of Outlaw race. They have the opportunity to say, I'm running second. I don't care about second. I'm going to just drive this thing as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot with Kyle, I feel like, mostly. Kyle, he shows up, you can tell he's showing up to win. And he's running like every lap like it's his last. And for us, it's hard for us to do that at a World of Outlaw race because you have to finish in order to win the championships. But the million's different. Everybody's there showing up like Kyle Larson. You know what I mean? So it's going to be very, very competitive. You're going to see a lot of guys that are going to, they're putting it out on the line, rightfully so. And I think as a fan, if you show up to Eldora and you're not excited about watching the Eldora Million, then you aren't really a fan because it is going to be, guys are going to be completely laying it out there. And I seen an interview not that long ago, a couple weeks ago maybe, with Tony Stewart said, you put up $1 million, them guys will find a way to pass. And he's right.
Yeah. Man. I'm telling you what, we came in the show and talked about how pumped up we are for the million. Now we're just jumping right through the set here. It's crazy. Carson, we are so happy that you are winning races again. We wish you the best. We're glad you're at a good spot. You scared all of us there with what happened in Knoxville, but we're so glad you're doing well, and we wish you the best this week. And who knows, maybe next week we'll get a chance to talk to you about how do you deposit some big checks into that bank account and how that process goes. But we wish you the best on that.
Man, I sure hope so. It'd be great to be back on with that kind of news. But we'll see. It's a long week. We're excited, and we'll put our best foot forward. And we'll see. Somebody's going to leave a millionaire, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. Carson, thank you, man.
Yep.
There we go. Carson Macedo joining us. Wow. Boy, there is a lot. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that a couple times. There's a lot to digest with his recovery process, with his assessment of a $10,000 to win race versus and then setting 250, and then setting aside Knoxville. Man, I'll tell you what, good stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff with Carson Macedo. We're going to step away. When we come back, we are really going to go in deep on the Eldora Million. The general manager up at Eldora Speedway, Jerry Gappens, he joins us next. The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum's newest exhibit will be our track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway inside the museum's main floor from April 3rd through October 2nd this year. You'll learn about the beginning of Williams Grove Speedway and the evolution of sprint car racing on the East Coast through 8 of the iconic big cars and sprint cars that made up the history of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania's Williams Grove Speedway. Plus, you'll see videos of historic National Open sprint car races and other racing events that put Williams Grove on the map. That's the track tribute to Williams Grove Speedway, featured April 3rd through October 2nd at the only museum in the world solely dedicated to sprint car racing, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville, Iowa.
I'm telling you, we came into the set and we were like here, my hand, those of you listening, my hand is right at the top of the set. After listening to Carson Macedo talk about this Eldora thing, we are just through the roof. I mean, this is going to be bonkers all week long. The Eldora Million and then the King's Royal coming up this weekend. Joining us, the general manager up at Eldora Speedway, Jerry Gappens joins us. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing well, Steve. I'm glad to hear your optimistic voice there. You know, you became famous. This is going to be bigger than the summer shootout that you became famous at there in Charlotte for many, many years ago.
I was thinking that. I've got, I think this is year 27. I'll be out there again tonight doing the summer shootout with all the kids out there. But yeah, this might be rolling along a little bit larger than that. Good stuff. Jerry, first question for you, okay? First and most important question. Are the pizza burgers ready? Are the pizza burgers ready?
Yes. They definitely are. We got 4 of them with your name on them. So if you stop by, we'll put you through the Easy Pass line, and you can get down and get serious with one of those.
It is great. It really truly is. Jerry, there's been so much talk about this week, and you guys did it last year with the late models, so you guys know what you're doing with these $1 million races. There's been so much talk. What's it like on the eve of it all as you get ready for it all to happen?
You know, it's fun. It's a lot. Eldora's it's got a lot of the tendencies of a major NASCAR, IndyCar facility, as far as people and everybody doing their jobs to get ready for a major event. But yet, it's still got the hometown charm of a dirt short track at the end of the day. And I tell people it's kind of like Wrigley Field or Fenway Park, and you just you do all the preparation, you get ready for these big crowds. We've already got thousands of camping people here. We sold out our camping in March, and then the adjacent campgrounds are filling up. But I tell you what, this place was opened in '54, and when Earl built it, it truly is like if you build it, they will come. And for being out in the middle of farm country and poultry country here in Western Ohio, it's just amazing to watch it all come together. And that, I guess, as the general manager and the guy that watches everything kind of come together, that's the most satisfying part, is to see our team's working hard. We've been prepping for months for this, and then with the race fans finally arriving here on site, it's just coming to life.
Jerry, we just got off the phone with Carson Macedo, and we were talking about this week, and obviously the King's Royal is always a staple on the World of Outlaws schedule, but the Eldora Million not being sanctioned and it being kind of for those guys that follow points for the World of Outlaws, kind of a free night. They get to one-off. They can kind of race a little harder. They're not worried about points. What is the energy like when you have an event like that where there's so much more money that's ever been on the line for a sprint car race ever, but also that non-sanctioned, open to anyone, you know that you're going to get some serious excitement?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to take any pressure off. The intensity level is going to go up from a standpoint. There are probably 10 drivers that are capable of winning that $1 million, and then there's always a chance for a major upset. Somebody comes out of nowhere. You know, Brent Marks last year won the historical big one and the King's Royal, and coming from his team there in Pennsylvania, and kind of shocked the Outlaws, and he walked away with almost $300,000 for a couple of days worth of work. So you never know what's going to happen at Eldora. But I remember back in the days when Carl Kinzer and Steve Kinzer with these they didn't have a lot of big money events back there, but you know, you had Knoxville and then a couple things. But I remember if you walked around their pit area, you didn't approach them. They were intense. They were focused on the job at hand, because that's how they make their living. And I think for a lot of guys, the realization that, hey, I can win $1 million, that's a life-changing event. In fact, I just told Shane Stewart this morning, I said, hey, you win this thing. He was asking about his motorhome camping. I said, you win this thing, you can go on HGTV's Lottery Dream Homes. You're gonna be set up pretty good for life. And he got a kick out of that. But this is a life-changing event for somebody.
Yeah, I talked a little bit with Jonathan Davenport. He was the late model winner of this last year, won the $1 million, and you're right. It is. It's just you look at the earnings, and then you put a 1 in front of everything. I mean, it's unreal as far as that goes. Jerry, the size and scope, you talked about, you're the GM, you talked about it. How many people will you employ? How many people will be part of the process that you lead us through these next 4 days?
Well, just from Eldora's standpoint, we're going to be somewhere around 250 to 275 employees, just from my aspect. And then you add in sanctioning bodies, the teams, how many people they employ, a lot of the industry. You got shock companies, engine builders, and a lot of people you see with performance racing industry, our whole industry. They're here focused on this thing. And the other thing so it's a lot of people that are going to be here and trying to make things happen for their respective teams. And then the other thing that's really kind of caught me off guard a little bit is how many corporate CEOs we've got coming in. Our hospitality area is sold completely out. We're one of the few dirt tracks with suites. Those sold out, and then we put some tents up to entertain some big brass from companies that have an involvement in sprint car racing, our motorsports overall. And so I think this is really going to give, especially wing sprint car racing, a shot in the arm. You've seen late models in the last few years. There have been a lot of what I call big money events, from 20,000 up. It's not uncommon to see somebody win 20, 50, or $100,000. Well, sprint car racing, for whatever reason, has been behind the eight ball on that some. And I think this is going to flip the switch on, and you're going to see. We had $250,000 to the winner a few weeks ago in UCITS, and you got Knoxville coming up, and this really kind of kicks off the month of money, they used to call it, with what we do here, and then the Knoxville Nationals. But it's $2,023,000 posted for 4 days of racing. So and to give you a comparison, I think the Knoxville National over that 4 days is about $1 million, and that's no knock on Knoxville. It's just, but I think you're going to see things get elevated, and the bar is going to move higher, and I think the people in the industry deserve that too.
Jerry, you've been around a lot of forms of racing, obviously in the NASCAR world for a long time. What has it been like for you to get involved in the dirt world? What are your thoughts on the sprint car, the passion in the fans? How does it compare?
That's a good point. And I grew up going to dirt tracks here throughout Indiana, little bull rings, watching sprint car racing with my dad. My dad raced back in the 60s, and I can remember as a little boy falling asleep on his lap on the way home from races. And as a kid, he would bring me over to Eldora, and I remember that was a big deal to get to go Eldora and see the big names race. And so I've been around dirt track and short track racing literally my whole life. I know when we built the dirt track there at Charlotte, when I was working under Bruton and Humpy at Charlotte, I was a big proponent of this is going to be cool to have it right here in the backyard. Then I had to I realized then I had to work a full-time job at the NASCAR track and then go over and work the dirt track until midnight or 1 a.m, and those days got a little bit long. But from a general manager standpoint, I've been fortunate enough to be the GM up at New Hampshire with NASCAR, and I think a lot of the things, obviously, I learned from Bruton and Humpy and the Eddie Gossages of the world that I've had a chance to be around. Certainly serves me well here at Eldora, and then trying to promote big events. That's something at Speedway Motorsports we always did. I mean, we had to make an event bigger and better every time, and try to raise the bar. So those things are serving me well. Deep down, I'm a sprint car kind of guy. Although last year I got exposed to late models working in this job, and I developed a real appreciation for the racing and the technology and the product that they put on a track. So Eldora has given me a great opportunity to see really the best two forms of dirt track racing there is.
Boy, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It is good stuff, that is for sure. Jerry, you talked about the camping is sold out, but are there any tickets left for the Million? Any tickets left for the King's Royal Wednesday night, Friday night? What you got available there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the King's Royal, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty on reserve. We're going to have the largest crowd in history at the King's Royal ever for Eldora. It's going to outdraw the inaugural NASCAR truck race, anything, the preludes, the World 100. So that's going really well. So far, the Sprint Million is ahead of where the late model Million was a year ago, the same amount of time out. But we still have capacity. We got these, we can hold almost 30,000 in the bowl here. So somebody asked me if we would stop selling tickets, and I said, not until I get a call from Tony. I said, I think we'll we'll keep right on trucking along selling tickets until we can't do that. And we do have adjacent camping. If somebody decided to come over, there's another property. It's privately owned across the street from us, and I know he's got camping. It's called Speedy Camping. So if you just go to EldoraSpeedway.com, you can get ticket information and the camping and kind of logistics of how everybody works. But I'm telling you, Thursday night is going to be a monumental event. I don't know if it'll ever happen again in our lifetime. You never know what the future brings, but those guys are going to be up on the wheel, and they're going to be going hard at it, and all eyes will be on Eldora this entire 4 days. But that Thursday night Eldora Million is going to be really special.
Really, truly is. That's for sure. It's not the summer shootout. It's not Friday night games at Central Cabarrus, Jerry. It's not either of those, but it's darn close. That's for sure. So
it's none of those things. Yeah. Here, I'm trying to figure out how to put 90 sprint car people in the pit, or 90 cars in the pits, and we used to put 200 and something in the pit area of Charlotte for summer shootouts. So I in some ways, shootouts still got some good memories of logistics and running a race in a timely fashion. That's for sure.
Good stuff. That's for sure. Jerry, it is a pleasure to catch back up with you. We wish you well this weekend. We wish you rest after Sunday or Sunday and beyond, but we do wish you the best this weekend.
Well, thanks, guys. It's good to catch up with you. You're two of my favorite people in the industry, and I appreciate what you do to promote wing sprint car racing around our country, and especially here at Eldora. So hope to see you somewhere at a race soon.
I'm sure he will. That's Jerry Gappens, General Manager up at Eldora Speedway. Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a moment. The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com. Man, oh man. Woo! Man, are we in for some treats this week?
When Jerry was talking about Thursday night really will change someone's life. You know, you think about Eldora, Kings Royal, Knoxville National, Huset's. Those are huge paychecks.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Even if you're a driver, you get 50%. He's right. That's not only life-changing because it's historical and your name will forever be on the trophy, but that actually is literally life-changing to win that kind of money.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And then to find out that Saturday night's Kings Royal will be the largest crowd.
Yeah. Larger than the truck races.
Larger than the World 100s. Larger than
the million
Dreams.
last year.
The
for
Dream.
The,
Remember the prelude to the Dream? Remember the prelude to the Dream?
Yeah.
That Saturday night, there will be more people at Eldora than they've ever had before. It speaks volumes. It speaks volumes for the industry. But I'm telling you, it speaks volumes for our racers.
Our fans.
And
too.
our fans, exactly. Our fans are showing up. And it speaks volumes for our fans.
Mm-hmm.
Our fans are not there to see Jerry Gappens. Our fans are not there to see a Wing Nation pre-race show or whatever pre-race show. Our fans are not there to see a World of Outlaw official. You know, our fans are there to see our drivers.
Yep.
And we've talked about this for the last couple of years. Sprint car racing competition, personality, characters is bonkers right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the result of that. The racers are drawing the people.
Yep.
And now the racers are racing for $1 million. And then, bless their hearts, somebody's going to have to settle for $175,000 on Saturday night. Plus a big crown, though, for the 40th annual running of it. Yeah. Man, oh, man. I'll tell you what, it is good stuff. That is for sure. National Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar. Yesterday would have been the preacher, Gary Patterson, GP's birthday. Sam Hanks later this week, Richard the Gas Man Griffin, Elmer George, Ricky Hood. Man, I spent some time with Ricky Hood one day out at that, used to be a museum out in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Burnett used to be here. He's with Flow Racing now. Him and I went out there, and we ended up drinking beer with Ricky Hood. Man, oh man, you want to talk about some stories.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! we were living right that day. We walked out of there, T-Bone and I walked out of there thinking, did that just happen? And we've talked about it since. We still don't necessarily believe it happened, although we know. Charlie Wiggins, George Doc McKenzie, Wally Campbell, and Leland McSpadden have birthdays coming up. We'd like to encourage you to become a supporting member of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Only $25, free admission to the museum, 10% discount off museum store merchandise, and so much more. You can find out more at sprintcarhof.com. That's sprintcarhof.com. Tonight, the Brad Doty Classic, the Doty. Last year, it was Kyle Larson. He will return. In the long and storied history of the Doty, Erin, nobody has ever won back-to-back.
Back-to-back. Nope, never.
Man, Young Money's going to be gunning for that thing tonight, ain't he?
Oh,
and Brad did, and Carson talked about it. Brad put an extra few shekels on the line,
Yep.
$15,000 to win.
I just love Brad Doty.
Oh,
I just got to say
we had
that.
him on last
I mean,
week. We had him on
I love
last week.
his race. I love catching up with him.
We had him on last week. He was great.
Yes.
He was great. Spencer Baston was the 2021 winner. May, the World of Outlaws were there. Donnie Schatz picked up the win. So, plus the locals like Craig Mintz, Travis Philo, and Zeth Sabo. This is going to be good. Then we roll into Eldora for the million, and I'm like, there's no stats. There's no stats for this thing. What we do know is this: the World of Outlaws ran there earlier this year. Okay, Rico and Logan Schuhart won those races, and the All Stars ran there, and Sam Haferteep Jr. won.
Yeah,
that's all we know. And Brad and Carson and David are not going to worry about a good points night.
Yeah. And no one's going to worry about a points night.
There's going to be some chances taken.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be some.
There's going to be some passing.
Yes. Aggressive passing.
Aggressive passing. Boy, I'm telling you what is good. And then, not to be outdone, the 40th annual Kings Royal. 21 different drivers have wore the crown. The King, Steve Kinser's wore it the most times. 7 times. 7 times. 8 drivers entered have won the Kings Royal in the past, led by Donnie Schatz, who has 5, most among active drivers. Last year, it was Brent Marks. Of course, he won the historical big one a couple days earlier. 2021, Tyler Courtney. 2020 was Kyle Larson. 2019 was Brad Sweet. He also won in 2013. This silly season has just intrigued the dickens out of me.
Oh, yeah. Things are getting crazy.
Shane Stewart, we had him on our show last week or 2 weeks ago, somewhere along the way. Shane Stewart, he's in Bernie's number 71 car. He's a 2015 champion. Don't sleep on the Madman in that Vermeer car. They went up and they had 2 top 5 finishes with the All-Stars. King Carey from 2014, and then Darren Pittman in the is going to be back as well. So he's a 2008 champion. Man, oh man, this is just going to be great. There are some other races though. If you're in California and you're bemoaning the fact that you can't drive over the Rockies and across the Mississippi to Eldora, you no worry, because Bud Kading is throwing a party. We have Bud on our TV show this week.
When they throw a party,
when they throw a party. There's only going to be one party bigger. I'm telling you what, if they didn't have their party the same night as Eldora, it'd be the biggest party in sprint car racing.
Yes.
And it still might be. They might compete out there. It is the Howard Kading Classic at Ocean Speedway in Watsonville. 360s, the Taco Bravo 360s on Friday night. They've got the pizza, the band, the after party ready to go.
Of course.
They got the midday food brunch, midday.
I love
feed.
how you have the menu.
Exactly. And then NARC King of the West Series, $6,900 to win. And they're working on the purse all the way through the field. Bud didn't want to get too far ahead of himself, but you qualify for that race, you're going to have a really, really good night.
Yeah. I love that.
And Bud Kading is just great. And one of your favorite racetracks. I love when tracks jump in and do something. And I hate that we overshadow this, but it's the Kings Royal and the Eldora Million. But Mercer Speedway, Western Pennsylvania, they have done such a wonderful job out there. Yes. They have taken a track that 5 years ago was sitting idle, and they have revitalized it. They have a strong, robust weekly program that does not include sprint cars, but they're adding more sprint car dates. This Saturday night, the sprint cars in Western Pennsylvania are going to run for $7,000 to win.
I love it.
I just think that what they're doing at Mercer is good, and I know you're up against the Kings Royal, and we're all going to go bonkers about the Kings Royal. But attaboy to the Michaels crew out there at Mercer Speedway, $7,000. Someone's going to leave there awful happy on Saturday night as well. And so that is good stuff. And I'm getting ready to leave here happy, man, because we talk sprint car racing. Oh my gosh, really, really good stuff. Wing Nation gear will be available wherever Tom Book Motorsports and Justin Peck race. You can go to shopwingnation.com, shopwingnation.com. This weekend, and I reference this weekend, Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit on TV, Wednesday night on Rev in Canada, Friday afternoon, MAV TV. Fascinating visit, as they always are with Bud Kading.
Yeah.
Bud Kading is, when I get done talking with Bud Kading, I said, there's a reason I list him as one of my favorite people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go a spell and you don't talk to him, and you say, well, yeah. And then you talk to him again and say, man, why don't I talk to this guy all the time? He's that good.
Yeah.
And they're planning for their big party out there this week. So great stuff. That is for sure. Speaking of great stuff, wow. Carson Macedo and Jerry Gappens joining us here on the program. Make sure you enjoy what we have this week. Folks, it's not going to be perfect, and your driver may not win them all. Enjoy what we have. We have something really, really special. And yes, there's going to be a call, and yes, there's going to be this, and yes, the big old bad World of Outlaws are going to be in places, and they're not going to be in places, and we all want to compare, well, this, and everything. Folks, stop. Enjoy. Have a beer, pop some popcorn, and enjoy what we're going to see this weekend, because it is going to be special. I don't want to see all you negativity people on this week. We'll save it for that. No, next week is Pennsylvania Posse Week again. Oh, boy, here we go. Anyhow, so have fun, sprint car fans. This is our week right here, one of our weeks to shine, and we're going to love it. Follow along on our social channels. She's Erin Evernham. I'm Steve Post. Thank you for joining us here this time on Wing Nation.